up on what John has been telling you. Can't always trust John what he's saying, but
You know him well.
yeah, well we do.
Ulla, you shouldn't talk about my past. I used to be in the cattle industry. I used to send cattle out of Darwin. As a matter of fact, I was the biggest bull shipper in Australia.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. I'm just going to start out with following up on, say, with the seeds coming from Italy. Seeds from overseas are radiated.
Yeah.
So, except from those who are organic certified or biodynamic certified, the rest is has been treated. So that's one thing to know. And then with John, I do soak, and lots of other gardeners, they will soak seeds that have a hard shell. So say the sunflowers, the pigeon pea, not beans, but in that category. And then we just soak them for a couple of days, and sometimes they even sprout during that soaking seed and then they're ready to be put into the ground. So, but what I'm going to talk about here today, most of all, is now we've done what John had told us to do with the soil, and we build it up, and now we got all the seeds going. The plants are all happy. And what do we now look for when we go out and we would like to harvest? So you look for a healthy plant, maybe a plant that's standing straight up with hairstyle like mine. so going up to the sky. So if you see plants like this and they have already flowered, they are not really the seeds that where we pick the plants where we pick our seeds from. However, was this the only plant you had? You will have to save that seed. So I took a couple of samples with me. During the travel, it broke its neck. but it was straight like this one. So this is an amaranth. So it's just in a bag, the flower head, to keep the seeds because that will drop to the ground. So anyway, I need a pair of scissors.
You tied that really well.
Is this the seed amaranth or the leaf amaranth?
It's leaf amaranth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can hear it rattle, rattle. So that's all the seeds that's sitting on here in the bag. But we're going to lose some on the ground, but you can sweep it out there after the meeting, and you'll have lots of amaranth growing out. So this is what you look for, right? A very straight plant, and here's the one that you don't use for seed saving. So they've been roughly growing at the same time, planted at the same time. Yes, so we go back to the soil. Yeah, so very poor soil area, a lot of competition from tall trees. And this one, and because we have moved to a new place, this part here of the garden, I did nothing to it. This one here went straight into my soil that I brought with me from the other place where we lived, that has been treated biodynamically for about 3 years. So they just say, boom, thank you very much, love you. So that's one thing. I got John planted some sunflowers, and we're not quite sure if they are genetically modified. So we're not putting the seeds into the bank, but we're just having a trial and just do another generation and another generation. So this is the generation after John's, the seeds he gave me.
The chances are there could have been a hybrid, but I wouldn't say they're genetically modified. So there's a difference between the two.
So how do you tell? Like, what stage do you tell?
Yeah, well, if it doesn't turn out to be a sunflower, there's definitely something wrong. I'm not trying to be rude.
But if it continues to be a sunflower,
yes, then we're on the right track.
We're on the right track.
Yes, and hopefully they will get stronger and stronger and bigger and taller and more beautiful.
Okay.
So out of the seeds that I grew, or the plants, so this is what I'm looking for. This size here and the strongness of the plant, and then when the seeds starts to get ready to form, then the sunflower will automatically bend its head. It's not that it's weak, it's just that it's come to the seed situation. So, and next to, so that you can see they're sitting together. So I would not save seeds from this one because I think it's a weak plant and I need to have stronger plants from where you save your seeds. And what you really should do, and this is very difficult for me and I don't like doing it, but if you see plants like this, you should actually get rid of them. Out they go, like that. Yeah, because when the bees and whatever insects comes in and to pollinate, and they will cross-pollinate within the plants, or the plants will with the wind or whatever. So get rid of the very weak ones. However, I work with intent. So I had 4 tomato plants, and they had to be transplanted from my little garden to somebody else's garden that we were looking after. So the three of them, they just kept growing really well, but one stayed small. And then I thought, okay, well, because that would then be one of those that will get the kick and out of the garden. So I thought, no, we can do another approach. So I said to the little one, the little tomato plant, you're so beautiful. You are so lovely. I love you. And you just pour all your love into that tomato plant. And at the same time, of course, tell the others that they're nice too. But this especially one, you really have to encourage it. So after 2 weeks, there was no difference between the plants, the 4 plants, and they just kept growing. And you wouldn't know that one was weaker than the other. So that is another approach, and just kicking them out of your garden. So it all depends on how much time you have and how you...
They have done trials like that.
Yeah, they have.
They actually have beaten up plants with another healthy plant beside it. And then they've actually, that plant leans into this plant.
Yeah.
And they've actually watched that the beaten up plant gets like attention from the other plant and actually starts to try and pick up again.
Yeah.
And then if you walk back into the room and you actually say, I'm sorry and I shouldn't have done that and everything, the plant actually does start to pick up again.
So there's a lot more to it than what we think, huh?
Yes, absolutely. And this is what you also talked about, John, the communication between the plants and how they help each other. Yeah. What I do at the moment, because we have the lovely red-winged parrot, they come in because they love the pigeon pea. So what I do because they're not quite ready, but we have some very good bushes, and I want to save seeds from those 3 bushes. So what I do, I just put the paper bag on over the pods, and the pods are not ready, but to be harvested, they have to go quite yellowish and dry, and then they're ready.
Brown.
Like a rattle.
Or brown, yeah, like rattle. Yeah. But if I leave them on the bushes, these will be gone. So
what's eating them? Sorry?
The red-winged parrots.
Oh, really?
They love it.
Yeah.
And they are so
we
beautiful
got some
birds. So we only
stuff.
bag a couple so that we make sure there's food.
I've got heaps of pigeon pea I can share with the parrots.
Yeah.
There's different varieties of pigeon pea.
Yes,
Are they
lots.
acceptable?
Yeah, I think we got about 10 different varieties growing up here in this area in different seedsavers gardens. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we have decided that we look for the healthy, strong plants, and we get rid of, if we don't use the intent, the other stuff. And so when you go out in the garden, if there's more than one person who goes into that garden, yeah, and you decide for yourself, oh yeah, I'll keep this one, I'll keep that carrot, I'm going to keep those flowers, I'm going to keep this bean for seed saving. And so I just make a mental note because my mental capacity is huge. so it's so huge that I can't remember the next morning, and I come back in the garden and think, oh wow, that's a lovely tomato. So I eat it and oh no, that was for seed saving. So what I suggest you do, you put a little ribbon on, say, the tomato that you want to keep, or the bean, or whatever you're growing. And also, if you had a partner who comes into the garden And when you come out again, you know, the week after, everything is gone. And that's because your partner's been in there and she didn't know that this was, you know, a plant or a bean for saving. So you don't wait till the last minute to work out what you're going to save, because there might not be anything left by the time that you make up your mind. It has happened for me a few times. So from the very beginning, when the plant starts to develop, you keep an eye on what it's doing. So, and then you can see, oh wow, the leaves, you know, the way the leaves are developing, or the flowers, and so you make up your own mind that this is the one that I would like to save, and then you put a label on it. And then say with so comes to beans, I would put like what, I don't know who did it, but I had them with a ribbon, and when I came out the next morning, something had been chewing that bean. So I said, oh well, so I have to pick it. Yeah, because you can't, there will be nothing left anyway by the end of when the seeds would have been ready. So we picked that. So that's where I then use the bags. So if there's, say, like a hand of beans sitting like this, and you can then just put the beans in the bag and then put the little ribbon around it, and then you know that they'll be safe in there. And it also happens to other things. Yeah, so if you have like bags like that, then that will help you to protect your seeds. Now,
Would you use paper instead of plastic?
paper. Yeah, paper instead of plastic, because if it's in a plastic bag, you're actually creating an oven with the sun shining. Yeah, so even though that you might have rain, the paper bag will still keep tight. Yeah, and they won't. Well, if we're talking wet season, could be a different story. If you're having 100 mil of rain every day, the bags might not make it. And that, yeah, so talking about, say, the wet season, it's not always that you are able to save your seeds, because if you've got a very wet, if you live in a very wet area, even though that you think that the seeds are ready to be harvested, the plant might already be moldy, and the seeds might be moldy, even though that you go out on a sunny day. So that will be the time of the day when do you harvest your seeds, and you will harvest your seeds on a dry day, but you have to still make sure, say that you had rain for the last 3 days, then the seeds might not be dry at all. And yeah, so, and that's a very good idea with having all these seed saving groups around, because sometimes they Miller can't save seeds that they wanted to do, so they can ring to Maruba and say, hey, have you got any of the basil? Have you got some beans? Have you got this and that? Because we lost it. And that's happened many times over our time up here as seedsavers. So that way we can share, because us living in Maruba, you see the sign 360 sunny days. Yes. Yeah, you're on the right track. We got the seeds, they're all dry. But I can tell you, it's not quite true with them 300 sunny days at the moment. So we are gonna look into that and ask them to change the sign. Pak choy, and I brought this today for Phil and Adrian to have a look, because they asked me when we did a little garden tour at our place, where are the seeds? Because this is another week of growth, so they weren't very obvious when they visited. So we talked about if the seeds are in the flower, but they're not. So they put out these little pots, and when they go yellow and hard or dry, then you just have to touch them, and they go, phoom, and then you go,
Where'd they go?
Next season, but they're so small that they just disappear. So what I do, I then take everything like this, like a bowl, and then I go out in the garden, and then I hold the bowl underneath the plant, and then I just go squish, 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 and they all drop into the bowl. And then of course there will be seeds on the ground, but you have saved most of it. Because this is a very long plant where the seed pots develops, it's sometimes difficult to find a long enough bag to do the same trick, because that will be a good idea to have if you had long bags like that. Yeah.
Like a baguette bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah, probably a place where they sell bags and plastic bags and catering, northern suppliers. Yeah, they might have.
Yeah, we get potato bags that are probably a good length for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. About that we have been talking about, you know, it doesn't take up much room to grow a small garden. So I thought yesterday, and they're not too happy today because I transplanted yesterday. But I thought, can you go any smaller gardening? So it's a possibility. And these guys, there's a passion fruit, and I do it with passion. And so you can put that back in the ground, and it will rot out, and pak choi will be happy sitting there. And you don't have to disturb the root system either. You can also grow in start seeds out in toilet paper rolls, and just so that way when you put the whole toilet roll into the ground, you're not disturbing the root system. Yeah. So I just thought I'll share my latest invention.
Can you use the bottom of egg cartons? Are they any good?
Yeah, absolutely, and they will deteriorate as well. Yeah, so you could cut them out if you just wanted to have a few in a row, or you can plant the whole carton in one spot. Yeah, all depending.
Do you make holes in the passion fruit?
I didn't have time, but I should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a drill.
Yeah, but I can still do it. Yeah, but I also put seeds into eggshells and put them in the egg cartons, and the egg shells I will make a hole into. Yeah, and then and you'll see the root system comes out that hole. Sometimes they're that long before I get around to put them in the garden, but they're happy there. Yeah, Vince.
I just worry a little bit about the chemical constituents in the egg container.
Yeah.
So there would be something that would not be acceptable in the way of what's binding it together.
Yeah, if you are certified organic.
Yeah.
If you're certified organic, then peat, little pots. Yeah, they're all organic, and there's no chemicals in those. But it is correct, and also I use newspaper in the garden as well. And you could say, well, the print, there's probably some chemicals in the print. I also use cardboard in the garden, but you don't know who's peed on the cardboard. Or it could be some chemical that had spilled onto cardboard. So there's always a risk there. But you could take it through if you have a compost bin or compost heap. And by the time that it has decomposted, then there should not be any residue left from the gardens.
It's also pretty amazing what the process of the earthworms going through all of these things and how they transform those kind of things as well.
I like one of the basic principles of permaculture where they say, bring nothing in and take nothing out.
Absolutely, yeah. And that is the aim, but sometimes you have to start with importing a few things. We imported cow manure. There's no cattle on the property. And we also imported some garden soil because the soil on that property is not the best. And then we mix it, but by now the people there, they are harvesting their own grass, straw for mulch. But it's the best, and that's the biodynamics say the same. Import nothing, use what you got, yeah, and build it up. Yeah, and if you can't dig into the ground, and we're going to have a lovely seed saving meeting in Mariba in September. We're going to meet up at a property where they grow stuff in hay bales, so you don't have to dig into the ground. So you plant into the hay bale, and we're using a bit of soil. Also, a lot of people in Mount Malloy, because of the mining industry, and they strip the soil off, and there's probably a lot of poison up there anyway, but a lot of the farmers or gardeners up there, they don't dig into the ground because they can't, they break the tools, so they build up their beds. Yeah. I was asked just before we sort of started if there is a lot of stuff with your seeds. So this is the amaranth, right? That from that one, and so there's a lot of flower heads. So we'll chop. Well, would you like the next lot of flowers? But put it in this bucket. Yeah. So I would have used a sift, but I didn't bring one. So when you come to this point and you want to get rid of the rest of the stuff there, then you blow into it, and the seeds are still
So
heavier.
you got to blow not suck, is that the trick?
Give them both a try, see what you reckon.
And so, yeah, it's pretty clean now, by now.
Yep, already.
Yeah, already.
You've done that before, haven't you?
If you can't see it like that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, amazing. So, amaranth. Yeah. So with your beans and your sunflowers, your amaranth, and a lot of other stuff, that's what we call a dry seed saving method or technique. So now we come to a cucumber, and this we call a wet way of seed saving. Would you have a plate? Yes, please. Rice. And the same goes for pumpkins, tomatoes, so pawpaw. Where like it's sitting in a wet type of environment. Yeah. So what we do,
You want to do it on here?
yeah, good idea. So John, could you talk a bit?
Yeah.
No problem there.
I will say something.
Yeah,
because,
please, John.
Ulla was talking about how it's important to have a ribbon around your things, around your plants that you want to save seeds for. And years ago we grew some zucchinis and they were really good, and I wanted to keep some seed. And I don't know, everyone would know how quick zucchinis grow, you know, they're beautiful this day. They're this big one day, they're edible next day, and next big they're huge, you know. Anyhow, and we had no ribbons on the plants, and I'm saving 2 zucchinis for seed. And blow me down if this pommy bloke doesn't walk out of the paddock with 2 zucchinis, about 5 kilos each, one on each shoulder. Look what you missed! I said it wouldn't take rocket science to work out they were going for seed, but he didn't see the funny part of that.
No. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you for
Is
that story, John. Yeah, you can.
I can sit down now?
Yeah. All of them are sitting on the plate here, and I'll let you have a look at it because that's all in the juice. So what you do, you put it in a jar with water, the seeds, and you let the seeds sit in that water for a couple of days to ferment.
So that's the same with tomatoes.
Tomatoes, pumpkins, zucchinis.
Oh, really? Bugger.
Yes.
You ferment the
Bugger.
zucchini.
Yeah. Yeah.
I brought some zucchini seeds that I did myself.
Yeah.
I didn't ferment them. So will
No,
they
but
work?
they will work. But this is
Some
a
will.
better way of doing the seed saving because it is a wet technique.
Yeah.
Because the seeds are wet. Yeah. So then, somebody asked me, so I use these containers here. Once you drain the water, I change the water in that jar with the seeds in every day, and so after the 2 days or 3 days, depending on what's happening at the whole household, then I strain it, and then I just put them into these containers that you get when you buy some different vegetables in different shops.
Yep.
And it's a cardboard.
Bamboo, isn't it? Bamboo?
Not this one, but the bamboo are really
It's
good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I used to put them on a tissue paper, but when they dry up, they seem to stick to the tissue paper. So I just use these now, and you can just, with your hands, give it a rub, and they're all free and lovely dry. So that's it.
Ulla, like I've always dried all that wet stuff and then sown it, and usually have good results.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit of leaving them wet? Or
That is to ferment them. It is just to take them one step further in their development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm
Doesn't it take off that external skin as well?
Membrane.
Yeah, and the pulp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easier as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what
Yeah.
do you do after 2 days of having it in the water?
Yeah,
Then
then
you
I
put
strain
them-
it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I put it onto the trays here. Yeah, so give it a good shake, strain, shake, 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 and put them on the tray and let them sit and dry up in a shady spot. Don't put it out in the sun
No.
because we're finished with being out in the sun. The plant has finished with that process, so they have to be kept in a dry place. And if we are talking, say, with the sunflowers, right? This fellow here, one water barrel. Ah, here it is. So when I bag the sunflower, I do it for two reasons: to keep the seeds in the packet or in the paper, and also for the birds not to come in and eat. Yeah, because they will start eating the seeds while it's still on the plant. So after a week with the bag on the plant outdoor, then I cut them, and then this has been hanging for 2 weeks now, and this is absolutely bone dry, so it is ready to pull apart. For saving, yeah. So just hang them upside down in where there is a bit of a breeze and out of the weather.
And you said you soak those seeds as well?
Then I'll soak these, yeah, and I'll let them soak as far as to go start sprouting. So it will be like you sprout other sprouts. So soak and tip upside down with a little cloth so that the seeds stay in a box or in a glass, and then rinse again and as sprouts, and I have better results that way with germinating the seed, some of those seeds before I put them in the garden. Pigeon pea, they have a very tough skin, so soak those for overnight in warm water, or you can grind them on the concrete and just create a bit of a scar there in the seed.
Yeah. One of the things I've done with to do that is put them on a tray on the hot water system, because that gives them just that nice little bit of warmth.
A tray in some water on a hot
Yeah,
water
yeah,
system?
yeah. So just a bit of, so they're moist, but put them on top of the hot water system.
You wouldn't soak any of these seeds like sunflowers and that sort of thing if you weren't just about to plant them though.
Yeah, just before you're ready to plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always say just gonna sit and go moldy, and they won't like you. No.
What about putting a bit of sea salt in that water to
Yes,
activate? You were going to
Yeah, you
ask
can
too.
do that, and you can also use some of the preparations that John talked about, like 500 and things like that. So, do we soak it in any other juices?
Oh, you can use worm juice and stuff like that as well.
Worm tea, and
Yeah.
I've also got a molasses.
What I do when I plant
Green as
pumpkins
well.
often is I've got a special method, and it's a PVC pipe cut at an angle. Then I just nice height. I get a yogurt container and make a slit in it so it fits on the belt, so I don't have to carry it. And I just hold this pipe, and because it's got a sharp on and then tapered backwards, just put it on the ground and kick it forward. So it makes a hole in the ground and doesn't clog up, and you drop your seeds down the hole.
Oh, cool.
Then put your foot on it. I planted 1.5 acres the other day like that, in 2 hours.
Excellent.
Just every second step. And it's funny, in such a quiet environment, you can hear the doop doop.
Yeah. What were you planting?
Thank you. Hey?
What were you planting?
Oh, pumpkin.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay, thank you very much
So
for
how
that.
far apart did you put
So
it?
have we got?
Good
sorry.
Step.
2 seeds every 2.
So what about eggplant? Do you do that wet or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, and I'm going to wrap this up because I'm over time. But yeah, so I'll just show you this one. This is a New Guinea
Bean.
but it's a gourd. It's not a bean. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, absolutely. This is a small one. I got a huge one, and Maria and Phil and Adrian, they can witness that this one that I got at home, ready for, hopefully for seed saving. I'm not sure if the plant can hold it, but this will be a wet method as well, like your eggplant, zucchinis, things like that. Yeah. Any other questions?
I actually have a question that's come up a lot lately. I guess from watching the Vandana Shiva documentary, culturally, it's so much more easy to comprehend and just do naturally to save seeds in some other cultures. And I just, I guess the question is like, how can we encourage more people to do it and realise how important it is, especially now?
Yeah, especially now. So we try and spread the word and tell people to go home and grow your gardens. And it doesn't have to be a big garden as you saw. So, yeah, and keep your seeds, because we are losing seeds every day around the world. So before there might have been 1,000 different corn seeds or 2,000 different corn seeds, and we are down to maybe 99. Yeah, so seeds are disappearing.
And Australia seems to have signed up for the, you know, for the works for genetic modification. So we really need to be aware of what we're losing and get in first and save it first.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why we're here.
Yay!
Thank you.
I have a short question. Sorry, Lola. Just in relation to how long do you store seeds for?
Yeah, that all depends what seeds they are. So, say tomato seeds, cucumber seeds, zucchinis, they might even only last maybe 3 or 4 years, stored in a good way of storage. I'll come back to that, and that will be the last one. So, yeah, and then beans, pumpkins, zucchinis. Did I say zucchinis just before? No? Yeah. Sorry about that. So beans, pumpkins, they might last for quite a while. So that could be maybe 15 years. So don't just chuck it out because you think it looks a bit old.
Pigeon pea lasts pretty well
You
too.
must look for a seedsaver and a gardener. And in the back there is a Refidex or an index or whatever it's called. Excuse my English. And it tells you, say eggplant, 5 years in good storage conditions. Fennel, 4 years. Garlic chives, 1 year. So it's a really good list that will indicate. It's not all of what we're growing that's in the index, but it will give you a good indication of how long the seeds will grow. And what we do, we encourage people to do, and what we will do in the future with the Mariba seed savers, we will ask people, when we think that the seeds is a bit old, we will ask people to take it home, grow it out, and see if it's still viable, and bring back the fresh lot.
Yeah.
But now I'll just come back to that one comment, that I had some seeds and they were not in the fridge, they were just in a box, and I thought, oh yeah, they ain't gonna do anything. So, and they were from 2014, and they were beans from Marjorie Spear in Kuranda. So I thought, well, I'll just give it a go, and they all germinated. Yeah.
They're good
So
seeds, those.
it's not always follow the book, and so
Try it anyway.
yeah, try it out. And also, if you do have old seeds, just put some just in the corner. Just grow it out, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.